About our guest.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to talk to Rachel Whittle today.
Yes. So, Rachel, thanks for stopping by. Protocol 7. And I was watching the trailer, blown away by
Yeah.
this. And you know what? One of my favorite actors who I've had on my show, Eric Roberts, is there. So it's always cool to act with Eric, right? He's just amazing, isn't he?
Oh, yes. It was brilliant. I got to sit across from him in a really heated deposition scene, and he blew me away.
You know, he cracked me up, Rachel. This is the funny story I have about Eric is not this intimidating guy that we see in these villainous scenes of all these different shows he's been in. Such a laid back guy, but he would joke around me, and then he would get into saying, "Hey, but if you get to me when I become the bad guy and the camera comes on, it's a different Eric, isn't it?"
It is. It is. Every time the camera would cut, he was cracking jokes and making us all laugh, and he was super charming.
Yeah, he is amazing. All right, good. Go ahead. Share with your first question for Rachel.
Well, Protocol 7, what I found so super interesting is that it is about a controversial topic, which is our vaccines. And so it was, involved a whistleblower, and it was something that was motivated by public interest. Give us the premise of this whole movie and what it's about, please.
Absolutely. So it's a true whistleblower corporate thriller. It would be similar to Aaron Brockovich, The Insider, or Dark Waters. And the case referenced in this film is actually currently in litigation, and it has been for over a decade. And it deals with fraud in a major pharmaceutical company. I play the role of Lexi Kaprowski, who's a small-town lawyer, and she teams up with the whistleblowers, and together they take a courageous stand against this pharmaceutical company in an effort to hold them accountable and expose the fact that they've been putting profits over the health and safety of people.
That's crazy. You know, it's like, I guess this was very controversial just to try to get this out, right? The story, in so many ways, as a movie.
Yeah, it's always interesting because people don't usually have trouble believing in big corporations, in the darkness of greed being pervasive in big oil or big food or big chemical, but big pharma, sometimes people have trouble getting on board with that, and whenever money's involved, there's just the propensity for putting those profits over people.
Yeah, well, big pharma, they have an impact on all of us. I mean, some people are not
Mm-hmm.
close to the oil fields or, stuff like that. But big pharma, it is something that touches us all. And it's hard to believe that we can make ourselves so vulnerable to something like that.
Yeah, and it's hard too because it's like you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, because there's life-saving medical interventions for sure, but I think that the time of blind trust is definitely behind us, and we have to walk forward asking hard questions and and doing our due diligence just to make sure that the choices we're making are the right choices for our family. Because it's just not a one-size-fits-all.
No,
We're so biodiverse as humans.
exactly. And would you have thought this would come out, right? A couple of years ago? Never, right? A movie like this.
Right, right.
Well, this is a timely
I think
movie,
the
right?
time is now.
Yeah,
Huh.
Yeah.
yes, because of the case, right? That's it's now they're talking about the case and they're doing a verdict on it or something, and you guys are now releasing this movie about the same time.
Yes, it's interesting because most times what happens with whistleblower films is, the situation happens and then it goes through litigation and then someone writes a book and then the movie comes out years later. But this is unique because it's currently in litigation now, and the writer director who was involved in the case, he said the other day that it's interesting because information is now coming out to the public, and you kind of hope that the information doesn't nullify your movie. And he says it hasn't. It's just proven that we're on the right track, that everything we've said is true, and it is worse than we thought.
And you know what's crazy, Rachel, is you want to talk so much about the whole movie, but people have to see the movie. That's the hardest part of promoting something so cool like this, right? A true story, whistleblower, want to tell the whole story. We got to go to the movie to see it, right? And how do you keep yourself
absolutely.
from not giving away the biggest parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
I think that it is hard, and I think everyone's gonna really enjoy the film and be inspired by it. Someone asked me, "What do you hope people get out of this film?" And I think the biggest thing for me is for people to realize that, or be reminded, for people to be reminded that their voice matters. And it seems like over the last couple of years, we've been just, I don't know, stamped down to just think that, asking questions is the wrong thing to do, but we have to. We have to walk forward asking hard questions.
I love that.
And if you don't do that, and it's hard to be the whistleblower too, right? Because your life could change in so many ways. I could bring up stories but I don't want to get into this, where somebody who whistleblowed and it's over their lives. And so thank goodness it was made.
Yeah, the life of a whistleblower is not a fun life at all, because you're captured by this case and you have to, I don't know, it's not fun. But I wanted to mention too that something that drew me to this role was Lexi Kaprowski is a mother dealing with a neurological regression of her son, and that passion to help her son and do whatever it takes to just make his life better is what leads her down this path and what gives her the courage to stand up. Because it's a scary thing. I mean, when a little person has to stand up against a conglomerate of any sort, it's scary and seemingly hopeless. But her mothering instinct and that mama bear in her, just to fight for the health and safety of her own son, projects to children across the world, and she decides that it's going to be worth it no matter what happens.
Yeah. Well, what did you learn as you were going through the process of producing this movie?
Oh, wow. I learned so much. I learned that things are not always as they seem, and just because it hasn't happened to me doesn't mean that it hasn't happened.
Yeah, and a lot of things are covered up until we find out later, and it could be 20 years later,
and too late.
And it's sometimes just too late. The person can't be prosecuted anymore. Everything is too late, and then finally it comes up because there's so many cover-ups because especially the pharmaceutical, big pharma. And that's the other thing that I think the film has to be scared about is big pharma. And you said this because big pharma has more money than anybody, right? For everything. So that's the other big challenge that getting the film out and have it out, because you said what could happen if they release something right before the film.
Right. And, I'll go ahead and pitch the website, protocol7.movie, because you go on there and you'll be able to see everything about the movie. You could sign up for a newsletter that keeps you updated on where the movie's going to end up showing. But also, you can be boots on the ground, basically, and you can host your own showings in any city that you're in with a program called Gather, where basically you can pre-sell tickets, and then if the theater tips, then it's going to show. And so that's going to be a great way to get the word out as well, especially if if the movie gets kind of stamped down upon.
Well, it won't. People are going to want something. They need content, right, Rachel? And that's the thing. We're dying for content. that's the other conspiracy. Why? Okay, strike's over. Let's start creating more and more content. What's happening? That's
don't
another
know.
conspiracy for another day and another time, isn't it?
I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's a strange world right now.
100%. Go.
No, I was going to say, so this movie is going to be released on May 7th in theaters.
May, or you mean June 7th?
I mean,
When is
uh,
when is it released?
June 7th.
May
It'll-
31st, May
It'll
31st.
premiere. It'll premiere, May 31st in New York, and it'll premiere there for a week. And then on June 7th, it will have a limited release across the nation. But throughout the summer, it should premiere in more and more theaters after that, or show in more and more theaters after that. And that's where, the boots on the ground, you can be your own host, your own screening kind of thing would come into play too. The more they see that people want to see the movie, the more it's going to be shown.
All right, we appreciate it, Rachel. Thanks again for stopping by. Protocol 7 available. Just go ahead, go to the website, check it out. June 7th in theaters, and more theaters if you want to see it. Appreciate it, Rachel. Great story.
Thank you, Rachel.
And congrats on the movie.
Best of luck.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right, take care.
Thanks so
All
much.
right,
Bye.
you're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show.